They spent years mocking my failed tech dreams, until one family dinner exposed who was really paying everyone's bills. My family had this weird obsession with visible success, which meant if you didn't wear expensive suits, drive flashy cars, or constantly brag about your career online, people assumed you were failing at life. And unfortunately for me, I spent most of my 20s looking exactly like the kind of person my relatives loved judging, because while my cousins worked corporate jobs and posted office selfies on LinkedIn every week, I stayed locked inside a tiny apartment building software with two friends from college, surviving mostly on caffeine, takeout, and the terrifying belief that eventually our idea would work. And honestly, for years it looked like my family was right about me, because every holiday turned into another interrogation about when I planned to get a real job, especially from my uncle Steve, who treated my entire career like a running joke, constantly introducing me to people as the broke genius trying to get rich from apps, while everyone laughed politely like I was some harmless family disappointment. And the worst part was my younger cousins eventually started copying him too, joking that I'd probably still be coding in my apartment at 40 while they bought houses and built real careers. And honestly, after a while I stopped defending myself, because explaining tech startups to people who already decided you're a failure is exhausting. So instead I quietly kept building, and over time the tiny software project my friends and I created slowly turned into one of the fastest growing finance apps in the country. Except almost nobody knew we owned it, because our company operated under a parent corporation and intentionally kept the founders anonymous after a competitor tried stealing our data early on. So while millions of people downloaded our app, my own family had no idea I helped create it, which honestly became hilarious. After I realized almost everyone in my family used it daily without knowing, especially my uncle Steve, who constantly bragged about how much easier the app made managing his investments. And the irony became even funnier after my cousin Rachel got hired by our customer support division and spent months praising the company culture while still mocking my little coding hobby at family dinners. But everything finally exploded during my grandfather's 75th birthday party, because naturally the conversation turned toward money and careers after a few drinks, and my uncle Steve started one of his usual speeches about how younger generations waste time chasing unrealistic internet dreams instead of building stable careers. Before looking directly at me and laughing, "At some point, Ryan, you have to accept you're not the next Zuckerberg," and the whole table laughed while I just smiled quietly like always. Except then my cousin Rachel suddenly pulled out her phone to show everyone a news article announcing that the finance app she worked for had just closed a massive multi-billion-dollar partnership deal with a major international bank. And the second I saw the article, my stomach dropped, because the interview photo beside it was me, since our legal team had finally forced the founders to go public before the merger announcement became official. And honestly, the timing felt unreal, because Rachel froze mid-sentence staring at the screen before slowly looking up at me like her brain couldn't process what she was seeing. And suddenly the entire table leaned forward while my uncle grabbed the phone and read my name out loud directly beneath the headline, calling me co-founder and majority shareholder of one of the most valuable fintech companies in the country. And I swear the silence afterward felt physically painful, because the same relatives who spent years treating me like an unemployed loser were now staring at me like I'd secretly become another person overnight. While my uncle Steve awkwardly laughed and said, "Wait, this is your company?" And honestly, hearing genuine confusion in the voice of a man who mocked me for nearly a decade almost felt surreal. But then came the moment that completely destroyed the atmosphere, because my cousin Rachel quietly admitted that after the partnership deal finalized earlier that week, employees were informed the company's founders would personally oversee executive